Welcome to BROADish. I'm Felicia Madison with co-host Jocelyn Chia and Hollie Harper. And back with us again is Janell Banks. And joining us is Elektra Telesford. Okay, we're going to get started. Everyone good? Everyone ready? Okay, we're going to go right into Vax Prep. So apparently they're saying you have to get vaccinated to go to school. And some people are all up in arms about this. What's problem? What do you guys think?
Well, I honestly think, like, what are universities supposed to do? I was looking at it because I saw something about Spelman and Morehouse needing all their students to be vaccinated before they came back. And people were like, that's wrong. And I'm like, they're an institution. They have to move forward. You know what I mean? Like, they can't allow, and I understand everybody, my personal freedom, but then you cannot get vaxxed and maybe not go. But I kind of like, we're between a rock and a hard place. I don't really see what universities or schools are supposed to do.
You could have vax segregation.
Vax. I was thinking we could have one place where all these people that don't want to get vaccinated.
Yeah, one place.
Yeah, but people have had to get vaccinated since the beginning of time to go to school, so it's nothing. It's not new. Like, I remember having to get a tetanus shot before I stayed in the dorms. So like, it's not new. You send your kid off to school with condoms and a little hope and prayer, and send them with a little vaccination too. It's like an extra,
I think the people that don't want to get vaccinated are also not sending their kids to school with condoms.
Okay, so you want to be grandma so bad.
Better condoms than a baby shower. You know what I mean? I'd rather sprinkle some Trojans than have to, make some cucumber sandwiches 6 months from now. I really do.
I mean, have you been to a frat house? Like, going to a frat house is, you'd want to be vaccinated before going into one of those, and also, like, thinking about what the college experience is like you want to make out with impunity. You don't want to kill your grandma. So I feel
come on, herd immunity. Exactly. Why wouldn't we? Come on. That sounds sexy, right? Herd immunity.
It's like herd sexual immunity. That just sounds sexy.
I don't know. I it's scary because I do know someone that is anti-vax, and I could understand a little bit where they're coming from. It is scary because this is new technology, but it's interesting where she's not going to be able to go to some places soon. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, can't go to the football games, can't go be, essentially you can't be a side chick, you can't be a groupie anymore, hang out at the sports events if you're not vaccinated. So it's something to consider. It could take away your residual income, girl.
Well, I mean, we wanted to take my son, look at him, he's over. We wanted to take him to a Yankees game for his birthday. We're going somewhere else, but everybody needed to be vaccinated, even my daughter, and she's 14. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't think even her, like my husband and I are, vaccinated, but I was like, so we switched it because we couldn't get a vaccination in time for her. But I was like, this is pretty unavoidable. Like, you're going to need this. And so I kind of feel like if you want to choose this to be the hill you die on, then like, okay, I see your hill and I'm just going to go around it because we got to get back. We got to get back. Come on. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts to hear 80s baby anti-vax. I'm like, y'all, we are the generation of the vaccination. Like, seriously, like, we literally had to be vaccinated in order to attend school, to do anything, I mean, plus we survived like all three OJ Simpsons and Justin Timberlake. But that's neither here nor there. It's just the fact that I'm shocked to see all these people, and I can understand from a perspective of African Americans and the historical aspect of it. But it's weird. But I am also tired of the weird flex of people like posting their vaccination card. Like, stop it.
Well, I mean, people, they always, like, people, you see pregnancy tests, positives, you see people's grades, you see when I voted, like, you see all these different things. And it's funny because, I mean, I have someone close to me, I'm not going to name who, because somebody watched one of these BROADishes and they were like, don't talk about me again. And I was like, ooh. I was like, I didn't even say your name. They were like, I knew you were talking about me. So somebody close to me was like, I'm not going to tell anybody if I'm vaccinated, and I don't appreciate the question. And I was like, I didn't really know it was that thirsty with you, brother. Like, I didn't know people were up on you but apparently some people are salty about it. I was like, okay, all right.
Oh, it seems to be a common question these days amongst acquaintances or first date. It's like the first question, vaccinated?
Second question is
add it to my Tinder
STD
profile.
STD. Okay. It's interesting because they said that Biden is changing his approach to everyone getting vaccinated because it seems like all these huge vaccination centers are not being used because the majority of people that want to get vaccinated have got vaccinated. And now they have to get those people that don't want to get vaccinated. We have to try to figure out a way to convince them.
Yeah.
Money.
Let Jennifer Lopez perform outside. That'll do it.
They're giving out like Yankees tickets for people to get vaccinated. Like they're really, which like, I don't know. I'm not like a baseball fan, but I feel like that's like a pretty low thing to bargain with. Like tickets to a game for like something that's going to be in your body for at least a year. I don't know.
I know, yeah. But when you said at least a year, that's one thing that got me. When I got vaccinated, it was like a Walgreens or a CVS or something, and I was asking the nurse. I was like, "So what about next year? Do I have to get vaccinated again?" And she was like, "We don't know yet." And I was like,
"Yeah,
they don't know." The earliest ones were from July of 2020, so they're still watching those people to get an idea.
Yeah, it might be 6 months, and that's what some of the anti-vaccination. So you need to get it all over again.
Damn.
But, well, I actually there was someone on one of our shows. She comes to our shows frequently, so we were talking to her, and she was vaccinated. She said she went to a small wedding where everyone was vaccinated except for the kids, and she got COVID.
What?
She tested positive for COVID. So you can get it. And that's what they're saying. You can get it, but you have the symptoms aren't as bad and you won't die from them.
So one of those little rugrats gave her COVID.
Yeah.
But also we're not sure whether vaccinated doesn't mean you are not able to spread it to others. You may not get infected, but you may still be a carrier. We're not sure about that one.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah. It's like
kids,
you don't know. You just don't know the outcome, right? Like the vaccination outcome, and like it's definitely I see you, America. You threw something in there. I can't find a girlfriend, and I don't know what my vaccination's doing. And I won't lie, I kind of want to get revaccinated. Like because I felt like I don't know, I'm plus size. I was like, maybe I didn't get enough. Maybe I need So I definitely
Janell, you are like what in Singapore we would call kiasu. So Singaporeans are known to be very kiasu, which literally means afraid to lose. That'll be a Singaporean thing to do. Get vaccinated 4 times just in case.
Yeah.
They don't want to lose.
I'm one of those people. Like I might need extra. Like I got locks. I got a little cellulite, in certain areas. So and then I got Johnson and Johnson.
Everybody got cellulite, girl.
But I got Johnson and Johnson, so I want to redo.
Oh,
you might need to redo.
You might want to get a redo.
This changes everything. You might need to redo.
Okay, we're going to move on, guys. Joe Biden just announced his plans of raising trillions of dollars. And guess what that means? He's increasing taxes. Woohoo! It's somewhat of a socialist he's becoming, changing his tune a little bit. Some people are in an uproar. Some people think it's the right thing to do. I'm going to leave it up to you four to discuss.
But is this taxing the rich their share, or is it just more taxes for everybody?
The rich.
Or is it a combination of both?
Well, it depends how you define our share.
That's why I think it's a combination of both.
The same percentage.
Same percentages would be great. They want to do like a much higher percentage.
I know at least part of it is for people who've inherited wealth, like taxing that money, like 60% of it, like some crazy number, like for people who didn't earn it but like got it from somebody else.
But it's kind of absurd though, because that's really the definition of double taxation. Your parents or whoever gave it to you already paid taxes on that money. Now it's going to be double taxed again.
Well, they can't tax zero, so I'm good.
Yeah.
I just want them to stop taxing Christmas bonuses. Like, what's the point, girl? Like, what's the point?
I'm glad my parents are foreign, so I don't have to pay taxes on foreign gifts. Yay.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think like up to like 16 million or something. My parents aren't that rich, so I'm good.
But you know what? It's really interesting when people like go into this whole thing of like, well, some like socialism and he's being a socialist and that's bad. And it's like, what do you think the fire department is? Like, what do you think public education is? Like, that's socialism. So whenever people are like, you know, I don't like socialism, I was like, well, when's the last time you had to pay the fire department? Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, but if you look at a lot of the countries in the socialistic countries, and especially like what's going on in France and how horrible they're doing, it doesn't really bode well. It's just not. I mean, listen, the United States of America is number one, and look at what's happening with the vaccine. I mean, why do you think we're doing so well vaccine-wise? Because we're not a socialist country. We don't have socialized medicine. And they were there with the government. They worked together, but without it, you'll be like, you know, Canada. They're on complete lockdown because there's not enough vaccines because they've socialized medicine.
But I thought that was socialized and everybody can get it and it's free. I thought that was like the whole point.
Well, yeah, it depends on how long you have to wait for it because it's free because they're not making money. Like they've socialized medicine, everyone gets it, but you might have to wait 16 weeks to get an appointment for your cancer, you know, MRI.
But the vaccine is socialized in America. Anyone can get it for free here too. So it is socialized here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's socialized here now, but we got the vaccine and had the technology to create it because we're not a socialized medicine country.
But then like on a grander scheme, right, we're kind of messed up globally. We're kind of messed up with the vaccine because of the patents. The poorer countries have not been able to get it, and we won't actually be able to say that like everyone's inoculated because those countries have to pay. So I think that like it's a bit of a gamble.
I mean, we look at how India is affected, like it,
But also, I looked into the taxes thing, and so people under $400,000 will not be impacted. It seems with the new taxes.
Oh, I'll be good.
Absolutely.
I'm fine.
We're good.
I'm fine.
We're good.
And like I think I'm going to be good for a while. Like I don't think that's going to affect me anytime soon, unfortunately. But no, like I don't feel sorry. I'm sorry. If you make over $400,000 a year, I don't feel sorry for you in that tax. Like I don't. You're fine.
Absolutely.
You're fine.
Not. Absolutely.
You're fine.
I mean, the counter argument though is that lower taxation was incentive for people to become rich, right? If you're going to tax people who are at such a rich income bracket, people are going to lose the incentive to make so much money.
The problem is it's always easy to say tax the people with more money, not me. I mean, that could happen at any level. You're a millionaire. You know what? Don't tax the millionaires. Tax the billionaires.
Right.
You know, there's always going to be it's always easy to look at someone else's pocket and say, like, it's okay, you know, tax them.
But like billionaires, I mean, I love what AOC says about that. She goes, you know, you don't make a billion, you take a billion. You know what I mean? Like, billionaires, you don't become
that's rude. I think that's
rude.
rude.
No, being a billionaire, how you get the money to be a billionaire is what's rude.
Oh, how many
That
boxes?
is what's rude. No.
How many boxes
Jeff
of
Bezos,
Amazon?
and how he makes his
how
money.
many boxes of Amazon you get delivered to your house?
Jeff Bezos does not pay his fair share, and we
one at a time, girls. Hollie first, then Felicia.
And most of these millionaires do not make that billion. But we can tell you something. No, we all know that these millionaires, they take that billion. They take that billion.
How many boxes of Amazon.com do you get delivered to your house weekly?
But even that, right?
Like 0. I get maybe like 2 a month. Maybe 2 a month.
Bezos totally took out the small businesses and like will scalp their ideas and then put it on Amazon for cheaper. So it's like kind of unscrupulous stuff that they do. And so like, it's none of it is like, and also I just want to say Reaganomics doesn't work. But so I feel like all of those
absolutely,
you know, like this guy was like, as a black person, like I just want to say that does not work out the way you want it to.
It never does. It never. Ever
I mean,
does.
listen, Amazon is a huge company. It's done tremendous things for the world, and you know, for the economy. It might take out some jobs.
What's it done for the world? What has Amazon done for the world?
It's created tons of jobs for people. And
it took those
it's taken jobs
to other companies. They didn't.
Yeah, it's like a Walmart thing, right? Like Walmart took away all these places, but they get to work for us. It's like, no, we had a mom and pop, and now I have to make $8 an hour greeting people I don't want to speak to. Like,
I don't. They would have made the money over here.
We can go back. We can go back to the horse and buggy if you like.
I mean, if that's what you want, I'm just saying. I think there's like somewhere in there, you know, like No, you don't make it. Like 9 times out of 10, you don't make $1 million. You take $1 billion.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for billionaires ever. Like there's no need for any of us to feel bad for billionaires getting taxed 50 or 60%. No, sorry. That's called equality. That's called equity. Like, no.
Okay, so what about the person? What about the person without a job that says, you know what? I don't feel sorry for the guy that makes $100,000. I have nothing. Let's tax that person.
Well, what about him? He can feel that way. I mean, he can feel that way.
Well, what's the difference?
With people being taxed more when they make more, and I don't understand why would we all be taxed the same amount? If I make $30,000, why should I be taxed at the same rate as somebody who makes $1 billion or
exactly?
I need that money.
If you're more successful, you should pay more money.
Well, you're more exploitative. You're making that high a level of money. Like, come on now. And first of all, who are the people who even make this $1 billion? They don't look like you.
I get taxed.
They don't look like me. They don't. They use it through exploitation. They know how to get there and they do it. So why in the world would we ever feel sorry for a billionaire getting taxed more? Like, I don't even see the logic in that. There is no logic.
That they are more exploitative. It could be that they gave so much value to the world, like a Bill Gates, Elon Musk, that's why they're now being rewarded. You get rewarded for the amount of value you give to the world. But the best comedians get paid more because they bring more value.
And then they pay people cents in Africa to mine those minerals that go into
like, come on.
Not being
the value to the world, the Walmart.
You know what I mean? There's nobody there. And the thing is, too,
but would those African people have been making money otherwise? Like,
yes,
what would they be doing?
If people had not raped and pillaged the continent of Africa, yeah, they would definitely be making more. They would be able to sell those things and actually be like, they would be able to.
Will they have an international market to sell their goods to?
Yeah,
Amazon.
My family is from Guyana, right? And Guyana, we have a lot of oil. And so what they do is they cheaply export the oil because they do not have us do the facilities. So where the money goes is the refining, right? So we sell the crude oil when the money is in refining it. So yeah, if we could refine it, we are a very, very poor country. If we could afford to refine it ourselves, yeah, we would be able to sell it. That's what happens in Saudi. That's what happens all over the world. People sell it. That's what happens in America and Alaska. They refine it themselves and they make that money.
Right, but so if you can't, then what's the alternative? If you don't have that facility to refine it, how are you going to extract the value of your own raw material?
But it's not being proposed as an option because it is easier for these American corporations and cheaper for these American corporations to keep these people suppressed or oppressed rather than to give them what they are owed because of capitalism. So I don't really understand the argument that every single company where there's such inequity or the reason for these inequities is because of exploitation, nothing else.
Yeah, it's not about the value they're bringing to the world. Like,
what about Microsoft? What kind of exploitation is Microsoft or Tesla?
Do you know how Elon Musk got started in the Emerald? I'm just gonna.
No, but I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't buy that. Because they bring the value to the world.
Exploitation.
I'm sorry. Like, there's just no way I could be this shade and believe in this. Like, it's the value of the world. No, it's through exploitation. Now there may be like shiny and cool, and they bring some value, but that is exploitation that they make that money off of. Nope. No.
Well, Hollie, Hollie, first of all, I think when you do anything,
you want an example of exploitation? I'm sorry. The example of exploitation with Tesla, all those computer boards and hardware that go into it are mined minerals that go into those things. The people that are mining those minerals are children often. And those are children and young adults who don't have any opportunities around them because it's easier for these companies to take from them and not cultivate or even give them what would be considered a fair share, given how much a Tesla costs, right? Versus how much it costs to make. Part of the reason why the cost to make is so cheap is because of exploitation. Everything we get on Amazon, and I'm guilty of this as well, is even like with the oppression of being a Black person in this country, I still understand there's a certain level of privilege. I'm sitting here behind me, there's a television with all that shit in it, right? So there's a certain level of hypocrisy when I'm speaking. But everything has exploitation embedded in it. That's the only way we're able to afford it. And that's why workers in this country don't ask for more money, is because that's why they keep things really cheap. That wasn't the best explanation, but that's it.
Well, no, that's pretty good.
I can understand that things get exploited and there is some exploitation. I think saying everything is exploitation is a little bit of an exaggeration.
Well, what is it? But what is it?
Really?
What products that we buy en masse are really not used by means of exploitation? Like what? What phone? What TV? What computer?
So you're saying you don't want
anything?
So we should
no. That's not the question. That's not the question.
No advancement.
The question was, what do you own that we bring so much value to the world? What computer, what phone, what laptop, what anything do you own that you think that brings all this value to the world is not used through cold hard exploitation?
What about your internet service? What exploitation was there?
But for example, there are these towers that go onto buildings, and these buildings are often in lower income communities. And those are those 5G towers, and there's been some evidence of people getting cancer who live by those buildings.
And there's people that don't want those buildings, and they're in higher tax brackets, and they're able to keep it away. So obviously, they don't want it there for a reason. Next.
So what's your alternative?
Yeah.
Paying people fair wages. Everybody makes fair wages, and all of us can afford whatever bracket we're in. I mean, I have no problem paying more money for my makeup, which is also like colors like blue, and like your makeup is pigments that come from the earth, and people, I would pay more for that so that people could have a fair wage. And there are things like fair trade. They're not popularized. They're not common. So I just think like paying workers more for their work would be the solution.
Yeah, and since we know that happens, then that's why I have no problem with a billionaire being taxed more, because I know how much it is through exploitation.
Okay, well, we're going to move on. We're not going to... I don't think we're going to solve this problem on this show, but we're going to move on.
And what if these millionaires all decide to close down their business because they were done being taxed so high? Then what would we do?
Then we'll be in trouble.
And we would open more businesses. Like I don't.
And they're going to face the same problem.
If they don't do it, no one can do it. If they don't do it, no one can do it. Like
there's a certain level of capitalism, right? Like that.
They're going to meet the same problem. The high taxes when they hit that next income bracket.
But I feel like there are already models in this world for like where it's being done better than it is right now in America, right? Like I think that there are and there are places that aren't America that are doing much worse in terms of their exploitation, in terms of like their inequities in their countries. So I feel like to say that it's like I don't know, like I'm not a capitalist. So if you are a capitalist, or if any of you are capitalists, like we're just not going to see the same viewpoint, and that's cool.
Well, what I think is interesting, what I read is that people were saying that they're raising the taxes, and people have been like all up in arms, but that taxes have actually been lowered for so long that the tax rates that are going to be implemented in Biden are actually going to not be as high as they were even in like the 60s and 70s. So it's, in reality, they're not really a high tax. It's just they've been lowered so much that they appear high. Okay, we're going to move on, guys, to a new topic and move on to something a little bit not hopefully as controversial, and I won't have to take out my boxing gloves. Hustle culture. I have the article up. It was in Paste magazine. It was talking about how the hustle culture is ruining comedians. What do you guys think?
Well, I'm just saying, I read the article. I thought it was really good. I thought it was really interesting because the first thing that I thought of was I had this friend. I was 2 years ago, and I was talking about stand up, and they were just like, Hollie, unless you're out every night, 3-4 clubs a night, you're just not going to make it. You're just not. And I was kind of like, I reject that. Like, I don't believe that. You want to go out. Yeah, you want to flex and you want to learn everything, but I don't believe in suffering unnecessarily. I just don't. So the article kind of hit home for me.
Yeah, I don't think that the article, like a lot of people looked at it as kind of negative or like that it promotes hustle culture. I think that hustle culture has been alive since the beginning of time. Now I think it's just a little bit more apparent because you have, like, especially with comics, so many different avenues to get to comedy, to get to that stage. It used to be open mics, submitting tapes, like kind of a 3-lane highway. And now you have the social media platform. Now you have TikTok. Now you have this, I don't even have to be funny. I just have 1 million followers. So put me on your stage,
Yeah.
So I think that's what makes now hustle culture so more apparent, because it's like we've always been doing it, and even for those comics that are like, I'm not about to go out 3 times a week or hit 3 mics a night, but there was still always something that you have done to hustle in the name of, your craft or whatnot. But I just think now it's just so much more of an influx, because there's so many different ways to, like, quote unquote hustle or move in comedy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I think that some people, I read bits of the article, I'm not gonna lie, but I think some people are in love with the hustle, because you don't, like, there are people, especially like someone recently got a thing that blew up off of TikTok and it parlayed into all this other stuff, and there were some comedians that were just flat out hating on it. And I think, like, and I think the bigger lesson is that, like, you should have multiple things that you're doing, because like getting up every night, we're not in like 1985, like it's not like, what it used to be, where if you got up and then eventually you got like a late night after getting up, and it's like, it doesn't necessarily work that way. And there's a bunch of different like ways of going about it, not necessarily like 3 shows a night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which makes people hustle more, but it also, I think, makes you think about working smarter. Like, instead of working harder, and bringing that logic into the forefront, just because now, like, I can literally sit in my home and do stand-up. I can also now sit in my home and profit off of stand-up if I work smarter. So it's not the hustle and bustle, oh, I got to fly here and there, pay, find lodging and all of these different things. Also, I think now with it being more of a structure to monetize and make more money, whereas back in the day, like, I mean, not back in the day, a year ago for me, like, I spent so much money just traveling to do comedy. So it was like, even if I made money, it was like, yeah, well, Southwest got that money right back, but it just made you hustle more to, put more of yourself out there.
I think what the article missed was it does take a long time to develop a good joke and perfect a good joke. And you have to go out and you have to test it out on a variety of different people, and you have to practice it yourself and keep tweaking it ever so much to make it transform it from a good joke to a great joke. So I think she belittled that a little bit. I think there is a little bit of a process that needs to take place. Do I think this whole open mic culture and like performing has gotten a little out of hand? Yes, I agree with that. But there is a process.
Yeah, you definitely need to work hard to become a great comedian. I mean, are there some naturally talented comedians who don't have to work as hard because they're just naturally good writers? Of course, envy those people. But for the most part, you do have to do some hard work, unless you like get lucky and go viral on TikTok with a dance video. But if you want to become like a solid stand-up comedian, I do really feel like you need the reps.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. But I think that also it puts people out, like you have those people who just constantly end up at mics or on stage who just don't have it and just keep, but it's like the more I'm out there, the more people think I have it, So then
if you're doing mindless repetition, and because the 10,000 hours, this article is saying people are just trying to get their 10,000 hours. If you're doing it mindlessly, doing a rep just for the sake of doing a rep, rather than I'm working on this new joke, I'm going to work on my crowd work, right? Then, I get that. Then there's just hustling for no reason.
Yeah. I think like intentionality. For a while, I was like, felt like I was spinning my wheels because I was out all the time, but I wasn't getting any better. And then I really started going out with like a perspective of today I'm doing this, like tonight I'm doing this particular thing. Like, how did that go? But I think a lot of people, especially because like the comedy community is really, I don't know, you can get really like submerged in it in a way. And then it just becomes about like everyone sees that I'm out. And if I look like I'm out, it's going to get me booked more. And then, but it really is becoming about like trying to be a better comedian for like whatever that pinnacle of success is for you personally.
I actually noticed that at the stage where I got bumped up into getting passed at the clubs, and so I was working a lot, but I wasn't getting better because now the pressure was on to do well, because these are paid club spots at a good name club. And I was like, I actually had to take a break to just do open mics again, because I was not getting better doing a set that I was just doing to get the money. I would fear of bombing in front of like the Gotham comics or the Gotham bookers. I was not actually working in my craft while doing all this show. So it may have looked like I was doing well, but I was retarding in my, not in the derogatory sense, in the like English definition of retarding being slowing down, my progress as a comedian. I actually literally went back to the open mic scene so I could feel free to bomb and create new material. So yeah, I get that doing sets for the sake of doing sets can be very counterproductive.
I mean, even Jerry Seinfeld goes to like the new talent shows to like practice his material. You don't want to do that in front of a live, real audience. That was like a weird quote. I had my finger caught in here, so it was like,
Well, I think so much of it is like, a lot, the same thing with like acting or any other thing. Like, what kind of comedian do you want to be? Do you strictly want to be a stand-up comedian? Or are you trying to be a comedian that does stand-up comedy or sketch or hosting? Or is it through writing? Like, what is your goal? So let that guide what types of things you do, what your week looks like. So, because if you really are if you're just trying to stand-up comedian, then I understand the way you approach it of like hitting this club and hitting that club. Yeah, I get that. But if that's not what your ultimate goal is, then no, you don't need to go to stand-up clubs every single night. No.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I think it just people hustle so hard because they think that like I just need to be bookable or seen. I feel like in my comedy community, it's like you have to be out every night, and then you'll hear producers saying like, well, I never see you out. And it's just like, dang, how many times a night I gotta go out for you to see me?
Interesting. Actually, I was talking to an agent at one of the top agencies, Gersh, and she asked me how often I do stand-up. I said 6 times a week. And she said, I'm actually more excited to hear that you do it 6 times than 7, because that shows you have a life.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I think also the world has changed. I mean, gone are the times where there was just like 1 or 2 clubs and a handful of stand-up comedians. Now the world's been inundated. Everyone thinks they could be a stand-up comedian. Now I watch TikTok and it's like, they take every joke that we've been told not to use because it's like been done or whatever, and they make it into comedy. And it's just, we're inundated with like so many people, and also actors and actresses who are now thinking that they could do stand-up. So it has become more difficult for the profession to get noticed. So maybe you have to be out more and do more to get noticed.
Well, that's the thing. Like comedians became actors. It was like actors were like, You know what I mean? Like people been telling me I'm a comedian too. So I'm kind of like, am I? Yeah, I totally see it.
And the hustle culture seems to have kind of definitely slowed down with the pandemic. But now that everyone's vaccinated, like here in the city, like every night there's a new show. And every time you go on Instagram, there's a new show and like a comic you haven't heard of. And it's really something you can get really overwhelmed by and like feel like, oh, I have to be out because like if I'm not out, people don't know who I am. And you have to kind of fight the fear of like fight the FOMO too.
Yeah.
To take care of it. At least I have FOMO sometimes where I'm like, damn, I missed that show. But you still have like other things that are literal homework that you have to do that will help you further in your career than necessarily going to a show or even like getting stage time.
Well, during the pandemic, if you had $15 in a computer, you all of a sudden became a talent booker. and now that we're out in the real world, now they just need a space. So there are a lot of people that are producing shows all over it, like all these like mini clubs opening up of people that have been producing shows during the pandemic who are now just doing it, give them a room and a phone and they're a club.
Yeah, we were wondering what was going to happen to the power dynamic once the club started opening, because during the pandemic, all these open micers suddenly started getting so much power because they now book these outdoor shows. They were asking comics who had been on Colbert and Fallon for a tape. They just didn't know who the who's who of comedy. And now we're like, all right, so now that the clubs are opening again, are they still going to have like that? I have that power. I book a little tiny room in a church.
I mean, I'm ready to say I'm headlining an open mic. I'm ready.
I've been wondering the same thing about the power dynamic because I mean, like I'm nobody, obviously, but like I feel like I came in before the pandemic and was kind of like slowly making my way. And then the pandemic happened, and then you're right, all these people came through, and you're like, who the fuck are you? Like, you know, and now the clubs are opening back up, and it's like, now it's kind of like everybody's freaking out because people who are in the clubs no longer need to go to Bushwick to do like a pew show. And, you know, and it's just gonna be really interesting to see what happens moving forward. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the level of these shows, like you said, are going to go down because comedians are now traveling. So those comedians are no longer doing those smaller shows. And when they are in New York, they're going to do the club shows. Right. Mainly because they pay well, because we charge a cover and we sell drinks and we can afford to pay comedians.
Yeah, I did the rooftop show yesterday and I was like surprised there was no pay. I was like, what? No pay?
Yeah,
it was a show. I'm sure it was free. That's why there was no pay. I wasn't aware of the economics, but it was a great show, sold out. But I was like, not even $5.
Yeah,
I'll tell you one thing that was just really interesting about, you know, comedy and like the Zoom shows during the pandemic when people weren't even trying to be out at all was that, like, yeah, everyone was like, oh no, we got to do it on Zoom. But I got to admit, like with some of the shows I produced and shows that I was on, I was able to reach so many people that did not really even know me as a stand-up comedian through Zoom. It was totally beneficial. Like, yeah, I'm excited to get back into clubs, but I am not sorry that happened for me that way because it was great.
So we decided that we're performing on rooftops, we're performing on the grass, we're performing in churches, we're performing on Zoom, and now we're performing in bubbles.
Nice second, girl.
So yeah, you watch these people, they're like on, you know, in order, the law is if you don't have a barrier in front of you, you have to be 12 feet away from your nearest audience member.
Wow, 12 feet far.
Yeah,
that bubble thing just feels so weird. That bubble, like the first time I heard about this bubble was when a strip club in New Jersey did like a drive-by strip. Did you hear about it? It was like a drive-in. He just kind of drove by and the girls are behind like a
That's what I want. I want a pole in my bubble.
I was like, wow, these people are really taking it far. But the idea of seeing a comedian behind glass, that just feels weird to me. Like, I get it.
I didn't like it. I didn't like. It feels weird, you know. And I mean, it's granted, it shouldn't. Like, you should be able to like push through it. It just feels like you kind of lose that disconnect, you know, from your audience. Like, you just don't. I can't explain it. You know how laughter just rolls up and rolls back? You kind of feel that energy just stop in front of you, like it's one of those magnetic forces.
Like the dogs, they're like, they have that collar and they get to that.
Yeah, it just does not. So, I mean, I appreciate the safety, but it does feel strange. And you feel like you have to just constantly keep talking about it through your set. So
you'd be like, but this bubble though. Like, you have to keep
As an audience member, so I did stand up New York. You know, I was sitting in the crowd watching some of the comics and I performed. From the point of view of an audience member, it doesn't look bad because for some reason the reflection is only when I was performing. When I was performing, I could fucking see my own reflection. Myself. That was weird. Yeah, but I think from the point of view of the audience, it actually looked fine because it's transparent and it looked okay. A little weird for like 5 minutes and then it was like a regular show. But performing was a little weird because you just see yourself.
Yeah, well, you're used to that on Zoom though.
That's so funny.
Zoom, I hide self-view and I just look at the audience.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah, I never just have my face up on Zoom.
No.
Oh my God.
No. I have to like scroll through and see people. Like, I like the shows where people allow people to unmute themselves, but the shows where people are like, no, you must be muted. I'm like, as a comic, I'm like, you don't understand how horrible this is to me. So I literally have to scroll through and look at faces, you know.
Oh, I do. I love to scroll through
you
and
watch
look at people's
yourself on the
drinks.
Zoom shows, huh?
Yeah, I have myself up there.
Because you're so pretty.
But you know, I love to scroll through and people see what people's living rooms look like. You know, I'm like, oh, look at your drapes. You know,
I'm not even gonna lie. I am one of those creepy people.
Yeah.
Like, what you got going on back there? Like, and that's why I don't like Microsoft Teams now, because Microsoft Teams, like, they give you the digital backgrounds. And some of those backgrounds, like the way it's just flawless, the way it meshes in. So I'm like, oh my God, like you live in an IKEA and no, it's just their stupid digital background. So yeah,
And I
you
really
can
believe that
catfish
my
people
friend
on
lived in the
Microsoft.
friend's living room when he had that background. I was like, this living room is so familiar. He's like,
You just, I don't know. Their interface is wonderful. You could definitely catfish. Like you could be homeless and just selling a dream on Microsoft Teams.
Okay, I gotta get with
have
this.
I gone home with you before? Why does your apartment look so familiar?
Right.
Well, at least it was in Central Park. That'd be funny. Be like, I think I've been there before.
Is that OJ's house?
I'm waiting. Well, whatever. We'll go. I'm not going to go there. So, but anyway, we're opening up, guys. It's very exciting. Unusual announcement. All of a sudden, I think Cuomo's just in such deep doo-doo. He's just doing anything to get the attention away from him, which is why we're now opening up on out of nowhere, May 19th. Everything is opening to 100% capacity. So hopefully all back to normal soon.
So I was on McDougal, so wherever the pair is. And there were so many people. Like, it's opened already. Like, I feel like most places I've been to are doing what, and they have. Well, never mind. There's people are just doing whatever at this point.
It's like Mardi Gras now, McDougal.
Yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
And I'm also not prepared. Like, going back to the hustle culture stuff, like, not prepared. Like, I kind of liked the slower pace, and like the fact that things ended at 10 meant your show had to end before. Like, great.
I miss that. I'm not.
Yeah, I had nice not to socialize. Okay, curfew, bye.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's gonna feel that pressure more to like be out at 2 a.m. or at least for me, because where I'm at in my career right now, like to be out with people, and I don't really want to be out.
Look at all these young girls complaining about being out late at night. Shame on you.
But the pandemic has affected me in how much I'm hustling now. So there was once I was offered 4 shows in one night, and I was like, I'm going to do 3. I just turned down the 4th one. I was like, it's too much hustling, too much travel. I'm going to be tired. And I actually said no because I feel like more balance actually leads to better productivity.
Yeah,
it does. It absolutely does.
I think so too. But I saw no.
Okay, guys, that was a fun episode. We almost became like The View there, like talking and fighting, and
we did. Yes, Megan, we did almost become The View. That was exciting.
I mean, Felicia and I tend to be on one side of the political spectrum. Hollie and our former host Dhaya were always on the other side of the political spectrum, generally speaking.
Well, there were always 2 sides to every story. So the idea is to keep the avenues of communication open, Hollie, listening and learning. I've learned so much. I've learned a lot in this episode. And I've
learned more about exploitation in this episode than I ever have in my life.
I know. And you know what? I'm going to Google it. I'm going to find out. And I'm going to learn more about it. And I'm going to come back with a few companies that have not benefited from exploitation. And I'm going to post it.
Hashtag
going to be a millennial and put it on a shirt.
Companies. Hashtag not all companies. Look at you.
I just feel like at the end of the day, the world is not a fair place. Is there any reason why some supermodels getting paid millions?
Yeah.
And the people who
gives a shit about them? Who gives a shit about these tall, skinny bitches? I'm talking about exploiting of people, millions of people. Nobody, girl, that supermodels like. Okay.
Yeah, the supermodels being paid a lot, just like the millionaires being paid a lot. And then who are the ones that
are not exploiting
the person making the clothes, for example, is getting paid so little.
Only thing supermodels are harming is their own bodies. Like they're not harming anybody else in that. Like, come on now.
Well, they're selling products.
Around the supermodel in the industry are also being paid way less than her. Would you consider exploitation just because there's an income gap based on our economics doesn't necessarily mean
you really okay? You still fishing for it. Fishing around. Go ahead, keep fishing.
I think if you want to solve this problem, I'm going to agree with Jocelyn on this.
I can't solve this problem.
The way we solve it is get rid of Gucci and Fendi and Prada.
You think that's it?
Because if there weren't all those products, then people wouldn't want more money. We'd all be equal.
I don't really need Gucci. I mean, I don't think. Like if Gucci went away tomorrow, I'd be like, oh wow, but okay.
I think also there would probably be less. There's less in that space, slightly less exploitation than like fast fashion, like a Forever 21 or Bengali workers not getting paid their bonuses and starving.
Yeah.
And those places like Forever 21 and H&M are popular because there are people that are aspiring to the Prada, the Gucci, and the high-end who can't afford it. So it's all their fault. I think it's all high-end luxury, which goes to the fact that these models are exploiting us.
Look at you, like, over there.
It's all those skinny bitch models' fault. Okay, guys, this was a fun episode.
So let's settle it. We're going to just tax the models, and that's it. We leave everyone else alone. We'll tax these skinny bitches.
If you're under a certain weight and taller than a certain height, you should be taxed more than anyone else. It's the body fat ratio tax is what it should be. Okay, guys, this was a fun episode. Thank you for joining us at BROADish. I'm Felicia Madison.
Jocelyn Chia.
I'm Hollie Harper.
And thank you, Janell Banks and Elektra Telesford, for joining this boxing match.
It's not BROADish, it's Boxish.
Boxish, then we're changing our name.
Boxish.